I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Callender,
Present.
Trustee Clinton, absent. Trustee Cohen,
Present.
Trustee Dorsey,
Present.
Trustee Liger, absent. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Present.
Chairman Barry,
Present.
5 present, 3 absent.
Okay, we have a quorum. Following along with the agenda, are there any comments, suggestions from retirees? Any communication? Hearing none, we'll go to the next item on the agenda. Secretary's minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Mr. Chair, I have a few, some of them are typos. And some other things that I'd like to point out. For the January 28th, 2020 meeting, without trying to disparage anyone, I saw that on the note, the minutes, it stated that Trustee Smith arrived late at 10:02. Well, if the meeting started at 9:41 and she arrived at 10:02, she was late. I don't know the importance of indicating that she was late.
Mr. Dr. Callender,
Yes.
if I call the roll and the person is not here, they're absent. So when the person comes in, I usually record the time and the person is late.
So it's a process. So you just simply, you just don't put the time when the person arrived. You just put that they were late.
No, I jot down the time and I put late. That's how I've been doing it all the time.
Okay. Okay. Maybe. Okay.
I mean, tell me.
No. It's a board decision. This is just something I pick up. It seemed just seem unusual that you indicate that the person was late, and you would know that the person was late because the meeting started at 9:41. I don't know why.
Well,
I don't know.
That's the way I've always recorded it in the minutes.
Okay, not a problem then. The second item has to do with the board recommending that each disability, that's under comments from board members regarding December 17. The second bullet, the board has recommended each disability applicant have a physical exam by a physician. It probably needs to be worded differently, or at least more precisely. I probably should read that the board has recommended that each disability applicant should have a physical examination done by a physician approved by the GERS.
Which page are you on, Dr. Callender, of the minutes?
On the secretary's minutes, comments from board members regarding December 17, 2020 regular board meeting. It would be the second paragraph, I guess. No one sees that?
Yeah, page 2.
Huh?
Page 2 of the meeting documents.
Is that taken care of?
Did you have more as an English teacher?
I have a whole lot more, some other things. So if these things are going to be kept and archived, I think they should be as correct as possible. Under the St. Thomas office building, on the building appraisal, the appraisal building by McCluskey was conducted on December. There's a comma, supposed to be a comma for the 6th, but the comma is up in the air someplace.
Okay, I'm trying to get on the same page as you. So which page are you on?
Mine is showing page 6.
Okay, and we are on page 6. And the item,
On the St. Thomas office buildings,
okay,
and then on the building appraisal.
yeah.
That,
Oh, okay.
okay.
It has an apostrophe instead of a comma?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the same page on the flat roof repair note.
Well, Dr. Collins, since you're there, the word appraisal is misspelled.
Okay.
Okay, you have a transposition there.
On the flat roof repair note. The flat roof of the north side of the building begun. Should be began.
Okay.
And then for Miss, this is under the chairman's report. I spent about a half an hour, the lengthiest report I think I've given in the 6 years I was chair. And I saw that it was nicely condensed to a few lines. And I thank you for that.
Dr. Colliner, there's a verbatim transcript
I understand, Mr.
required by law, and that your verbatim would be in the transcript, and that's the legal document.
Okay, no problem. That was a joke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was that criticism. That's it. Thanks. Thanks for putting up with me.
Okay, I'll move to accept the secretary minutes from the last meeting of January 28th, 2021, as corrected.
I get a second?
Second,
Moved on second. Vote, roll call.
Trustee Colliner,
yes.
Trustee Cohen,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey. Trustee Dorsey. Trustee Liger. Absent. Trustee McDonough. Absent. Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Chairman Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey. Absent.
Question, I'm not able to vote at this time. I had some questions on the minutes. I couldn't find my minutes.
That vote not voted, sir?
Not voting.
Okay.
4 yes, 1 not voting, 2 absent.
Okay, so the minutes were approved. And yeah, that's the minutes for the January 28th meeting. And we have minutes for the special meeting of February 2nd.
Liger is here.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, that's
Okay, so we are at the minutes for the special meeting that was held on February 2nd.
Okay,
And any comments, corrections to those minutes, or
not as far as I know, sir.
anybody else? Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll move to accept the minutes of the special meeting of the board, February 2nd, 2021, as stated in this document.
second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Trustee Calendar,
Yes.
trustee Cohen,
Yes,
trustee Dorsey,
Not voting.
trustee Liger,
Yes,
trustee McDonough, absent, trustee Smith,
yes,
chairman Barry,
Yes.
5 yes, 1 not voting, 1 absent.
Okay, so minutes are approved. Communications and correspondences.
I just have one piece of correspondence that I had discussed, well, President Gregory had discussed with me in a meeting that I had with her. And it's in regards to Act number 8383, Bill number 330418. That was an act providing for the remittance of an amount not exceeding 50% of the revenues realized in excess of the funds appropriated by the legislature of the Virgin Islands for the operation of the government of the Virgin Islands, GERS, in the fiscal year ending September 30, 2020, and for an amount not exceeding $50 million to be remitted to the GERS in the fiscal year ending September 30, 2021, from general fund revenues realized in excess of the funds appropriated by the legislature of the Virgin Islands for the operation of the government of the Virgin Islands, to be used by the GERS exclusively for retirement annuity payments for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2021. I just wanted to bring to the attention that GERS has not received any funds in excess of exceeding the $50 million from the Treasury. This was discussed, like I said, she brought it up in a meeting that I had with her if we had received anything. And as far as I know, and Ms. Jeremiah would be able to confirm that we have not received any monies under Act number 8383. She told me that there was a schedule that she had seen, and she was going to share it with me. I have not received that schedule as yet. So as of this time, we have not received any funding from any excess general fund revenues for 2020 and so far for 2021. Year hasn't over as yet, but 2020 we have not received anything. Just wanted to put that in record.
When you said that she told you that she was the Senate President?
This is Senate President Donna Fred Gregory.
Okay.
She was just inquiring as to if we had received. And I
Okay.
said no. She said she had seen a schedule and she was going to share it. I haven't seen it. And I asked her to send me a copy. I haven't seen it as yet. I will follow up.
Should we formally write to the Commissioner of Finance? I mean, since he's the one, according to the statutes, that it's supposed to remit the funds, should we formally write inquiring about it?
Yes, we can. I think she had mentioned the OMB director. I can do that and copy the
She had
OMB.
mentioned what?
She had mentioned the OMB director. She had seen something that had shared with the OMB director. So I can copy the OMB director and write it a letter to the acting Commissioner of Finance.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So I think we should craft a letter inquiring about it.
Chairman Bory,
Yes, sir.
point of information, I was not able to find my January 28th minutes, so I had some questions on that. I need to be able to address those. I made one or two requests in the last meeting. I need to address that. And also I noticed that from that meeting we had on that agenda,
You're mute.
point information, I was indicating that I was not able initially to find my January 28th minutes. So I had some questions. One, two, the January agenda, it had about 6 items that cover the Havenside Mall, different aspects of it. And I didn't notice any of those follow-ups on this agenda today for the Havenside Mall. And also on the 29th, which was the day after, we were requested by the administrator to do a walkthrough. I was the only one that showed up at that walkthrough, so I had made some notes. I'd like an opportunity to discuss the Havenside Mall and the possibilities of the reconstruction of that underutilized asset. So I'm not sure when that can be done. And also I had requested, based on the letter received from Mr. Nibbs and his pending retirement, that I asked for that transition plan that was proposed by Mr. Nibbs to the board. I had made a request for that plan as well, and I didn't receive anything on that item. So I did have a few questions.
Okay, let's start with your question that stems from the minutes.
Okay. I had made a note from the initial communication. Mr. Nibbs sent a letter to the board at some point before I came on, indicating that he was leaving close to a year ago. So in that letter, it talked about a transition plan, either hiring an assistant to assist him, an understudy. Those were some of the thoughts that came up. And I just asked for a copy of what we were proposing, since we're in a critical state. What exactly did the board come up with to address that issue? So I didn't receive a document on that. So I guess somebody can address that to me at some point, but I would like to see something on that as well. And getting right into the minutes, the issue I had talked about last time was the arrears with the AG office and the Division of Personnel. And looking at the current document, there's a discussion, but I didn't see anything or hear anything today in terms of something more finalized. And then my other question is to counsel for the system. How do we take the AG to collect? How do we collect from our legal arm of the government? How do we do that? Because this apparently has been going on for a while. So I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but the arrears are still there. So it's one of the agencies and they have the largest bill. So I'm not sure, are they in that capacity because they are who they are? The recommendations I made last time was that we need,
could we take your issues one at a time and get your responses to your questions? So your first question.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
Your first question had to do with
transition planning.
What's the question?
I was asking what was the what did we conclude as a board? Was there a document developed that addressed that issue? Now that we know that Mr. Nibbs will be moving out shortly, are we looking to put someone as an understudy? Are we looking to put even Mr. Nibbs on a contract basis?
Let me answer your question. I have asked Trustee Callender and Trustee Clendenin to work with me to do just that, to develop a transition plan. And we have an initial discussion that has not been concluded. So I intend to finalize an approach shortly, and I'll then be able to present it to the board.
Okay, Chair, I was not aware that you had come up with a scenario since I had made a request. Not sure how the board goes about establishing systems to answer questions of not just the trustees, but general public members, active and non-active retirees in this situation. But if it's possible, I'd like to be part of that process to bring something forward.
Okay,
If
sure.
it's possible.
It's going to eventually be a board's decision. So yeah, you'll definitely be involved in that discussion and that whatever we decide going forward. Yeah.
Also, my other question, the former chair did answer is related to disability. When members have a disability issue and they have to go to a physician to get the approval by the board. So I believe the doctor did a good job in answering that. I do agree that the board should approve that process. I just figured that process would be similar to how it's done at workman comp, because at workman comp, if you're hurt, they have to approve who you go see, when you go see. So I just figure it'd be a similar process to that. Okay, so my other question I'm going to go back to the Havenside Mall. And the last minutes, we have a lot of discussion with the Havenside Mall, not just the repair of the roof, the vendor that's going to be looking to do the promotioning of that. I just noticed that we didn't have anything on the agenda today. And then the following day of that meeting, Mr. Nibbs requested a walkthrough, and I was expecting most of us to be there, who could be there, since he indicated prior to that the members haven't been recently, I guess would be the best way to put it, through the mall. But there's talk about selling an asset that most of us know that that's just not the right thing to do. So I have some notes on that. So I don't know if you want me to bring those notes up under new business. If you can add it to the agenda, I can do it then. I think they're very important because they're capital investments being made beyond the roof.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I think that even site would be best discussed in the investment committee meeting, where you have time to lay out all the scenarios. But something like this have always been discussed in an investment committee meeting.
Well, I would just answer this way, Mr. Nibbs. I already been asking when is the next subcommittee meeting, and I haven't seen a schedule on the different committees where this is probably should be in. And I'm not even sure it needs to be in the investment committee or the development committee at this point. I'm not really sure, but I'm just saying that I made the request to the chair and I'm waiting to see where we're going, but time is of the essence. I'm just trying to do what I can to move the process forward. The other item I had was I'm asking about the arrears of the AG office in the Division of Personnel primarily. And I understand in the new agenda, there's some communication. I just wanted to know where we were at in terms of status, where we were at with those issues. And then I was asking legal counsel, how do you address the issue with the AG? How do you go after the AG for back payment and arrears? And my recommendation was the last time that we establish something through the code. If we're going to do business with agencies, that we just extract that money from the budget process. I'm not sure if Senator Violet was going to be here today. I didn't know if he was invited since he didn't come to the last meeting that we requested, or the Senate requested with the system. And he was one of the people that wasn't there, which was a critical person because he's over the financial portion of that breakdown of that new Senate. And when we were requesting a meeting, I suggested then, and I'm suggesting now, just as the 33rd legislation was able to put policies in place to collect the WAPA bill through the budget process for the different government agencies, we would have to do something similar going forward with that. So I was asking legal counsel, Ms. Smith, Attorney Smith, how that works and where we're at on those collections.
Trustee Dorsey, the collections come under the COO's office, so she would have to address that. I only get involved if they turn it over to me for legal action, which it has not been done recently.
May I add, please? In the administrator's reports, there's a section that gives you a schedule on all the arrearages of our tenants. Ordinarily, if a tenant is in arrears, we send out a notice to quit, just like any landlord-tenant relationship. And that has worked, and I think we have done that before. However, since that time, there's some mechanism at OMB, and I think we have been in contact with OMB by letter so that we can get those funds, but we have sent out a notice to quit. And usually we get the funds when we do that.
Okay, you got a letter. You received a letter, Mr. Niz, but you didn't forward that letter to us because we've been inquiring as trustees. So we need to see a copy of what's going on with that. Also, again, I would ask legal counsel, what is the timetable? Because I think we've been at this long enough. We need something more concrete.
What is the timetable for what?
To go after the AG and the Division of Personnel for non-payment. There's always going to be a letter. We need something more concrete.
As I
Mr.
said,
Chair.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just so the record is clear, Trustee Dorsey, I would recommend that you refer to it as the Department of Justice as opposed to the AG. We're not going after an individual, but the entity with whom GRS has contracted. So the inquiry would be about the Department of Justice.
I agree, Attorney Williams, but it starts at the head. The communication is addressed to the Attorney General. So it starts at the head.
Like I said previously, there's a tenant-landlord relationship. We do send out notice to quit, meaning eviction notices. We have done that in the past, and it has been successful. However, I said subsequent to that, there's some mechanism within OMB where the monies, the WAPA bills are lumped together and payment have been made. That has been successful in some cases, but it appears that the division of the Department of Justice is still behind in their round. I noticed that in the schedule. So, I don't think I'm going to send out a notice to quit for WAPA. I'll send out a notice to quit for the rent.
Okay, so it looks like you don't want to get into that too much. Okay,
No,
so
no,
my next comment
is
was,
I understand, Trustee Dorsey, your recommendations. However, it's a process. Okay, and maybe Ms. Clendenningham, because she's closer to this than I am, maybe can respond of what's the latest correspondence that went out.
can I say this to you, Mr. Nibbs? When I don't pay my WAPA bill, I get cut.
Well,
Okay.
when
when I was late on my mortgage, GRS, I got a notice, was asked to come in and have a discussion. I didn't just get a letter. So I'm not sure what the process is. I'm on the receiving end, right? So I'm saying I don't expect nothing less. Not because it's, as the council is saying to the board of Attorney Williams, it's the Attorney General's office. That's not how I see it. We have to be fair. Everybody's equal here. I want to move on to the next point.
No, I just want to mention, trustee, there's 1 meter. You said you get cut. It's 1 meter. Like I said, we usually submit a notice to quit, and it has been successful. We can do that again. We had pulled back because Department of Justice had caught up. Now they're behind in their Whopper bills. It's not that we don't get the monies, but we don't get them on time. Yes, there's a lost opportunity for gaining interest. However, we do charge them interest, as far as I know.
You know, Mr. Nibs, when I came in to look at my file, you guys is telling me I had owed money from arrears, and then I had to make a payment schedule, and I had to stick to that schedule. But I'm not hearing that from the AG or from the Attorney General's office, right? But anyway, like I said, this is just where it is. I'm just putting it there. The other question I had was the notices you sent out for individuals, the life certificates you sent out, is that for all members or is that for a category of members? That was under comments, questions from the board members.
Those are
You
members.
said every 6 months you send it out. Does that go out to all members?
Those members that live in our filing outside the territory international.
Oh, okay. And then the resolution I asked for, I haven't received. You said there was a resolution prior to me coming on the board where the board asked a resolution to sell all assets because of insolvency. And I asked for a copy of those resolutions. I have not received those resolutions. I also asked for a copy of what was proposed for each of those assets to possibly turn those assets around to start to look at saving the system. Not sure again what committee that's going to fall under, if it's going to be the development committee or the investment committee, but up to now I haven't received those documents as well.
You haven't received it because Ms. Castro has been looking for it. I have been looking for it too. We've been in contact with Attorney Williams' office. Sometimes the resolutions are not as timely, but I know that there was a resolution. I was looking through my notes, but I know that the board made a decision to sell all assets.
Why don't we schedule I don't know whether that'll be an investment committee or budget committee.
Well, it could be either investment or the development. He's talking about remodeling or rebranding the entire mall. But since it's an asset, I think they should start with the investment committee, which comprises of all board members.
Okay, so what we'll do, we schedule a meeting, an investment committee meeting, and that we'll put that at the top of the agenda.
Okay. So the last item was the second to last item was the walkthrough the Havenside Mall. So you want me to put that under new business? I'm talking to the chair.
You want to talk about the walkthrough?
Yeah, you're gonna put that under new business under the agenda. You want to add it to new business.
Why don't you talk about that now?
Okay, so on January 29th, I met at the Haven site. I guess you call it the White Building, Mr. Nibs?
We call it the White House.
The White House, okay. And we went over, we did the walkthrough, but we had a discussion prior to going out. So as we came out, we started right outside the White House, and the members were explaining, the property manager was Mr. Moorhead. I forget his assistant at the time, but it was a very good discussion. They already have started at that time, they had started the layout. I understand they're actually doing the actual construction now of putting in the foundation for the new, the water lines, they say, have to be replaced throughout the property. So that's somewhat being worked out with Water and Power Authority. I indicated that that should be a good thing as an upgrade to the property. We walked around the perimeters to see exactly from point A to point B what we are really in charge of as a mall. And I realized some of the more prime property is under the WICO portion of that layout. And that just triggered that we probably need to have a meeting with the sponsor of the plan, since the sponsor is in a position, which in this case would be the governor, in a position, since he's looking to do a property swipe, that we do that swipe to the Haven site itself, come under the GRS, the entire property, so that we can include that in the overall comprehensive plan that we would like to do to increase that asset. So that's what we came up with. Also,
Why don't you put that on the agenda for the committee meeting?
say again?
Why don't you put that on a second agenda item for your investment committee meeting?
Okay, so you want to bring it up then?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Instead of meeting that, because we have a long agenda to get through here.
okay, so my last item, just in general, just a comment, and maybe someone can explain to me why it's not there. But there's a section on here I noticed, being my second meeting. It says comments and suggestions from retirees. Now, is there any reason why we don't have a section for active employees that have comments and suggestions as well? And then also, besides point of information, is there a section that can be placed on the agenda as well, comments from trustees? So that's my point to the chair.
The reason, Mr. Chairman, the reason why you see that is because by statute, it says that the trustees should meet with the retirees at least once a month, or in some type of quarterly or whatever. But since we had board meetings once a month, the retirees were always invited and to the meetings, and they would air their recommendations or grievances. But that's by statute. It doesn't say anything about actives.
Okay, so Mr. Nibbs, we now realize we have an oversight in the statute. So can we amend that? Can we have that process amended?
Well, a recommendation would have to be made to the legislature.
Well, we don't. I mean, if we want to put an item on the agenda for comments from active members, I mean, I don't see that as a problem. I mean,
I'm just saying that if we're gonna have retirees comments.
I heard you. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
So I'm saying
Okay.
what we could do on that item, even though the law only requires retirees, we could just make that comments from retirees. We could just say comments from members.
I was just saying, Chair, that we're all included in this, the actives, as well as the retirees.
I'm agreeing with you, Mr. Dorsey.
Okay.
I'm just going to mention, since I've been here, there's only one active member used to show up in Sinkhole. No active members showed up. Okay.
That's okay. I mean, okay. I mean, it's
Mr. Nibbs, I would say that one active member showed up in St. Croix is fine. I would just say that we're going to publicize differently, maybe how we go forward, so that we're in a situation where people just need to stay informed. So you might have one now, but I don't think it's going to be one in the future. I think the whole paradigm of what we do is going to change in a different way. And I don't think it'll just be us here going forward. I think there will be a change.
My recommendation would be to the board is that you have a separate meeting there, because you can have 100 active members and you have to address them. you could be here, for hours. So my recommendation would be we could have special monthly meetings and open it up.
Well, let's, I mean, we have.
Well,
been able-
I would say this, Mr. Nibbs. I would say this. Sorry, Chairman. I would say this, Mr. Nibbs. I would take it even a step further. You see those employees that you work with, Mr. Nibbs? I would actually like them to have a voice on the agenda as well, because they do the work. So I didn't want it to just come from the head. If it's possible, they could also have it, or they can be able to allow, without anybody coming after them, to speak under that section for active employees. They could speak under that section. So like I said, it's not there now, but once you put it in and they're able to speak, active employees throughout the government, you will see a difference, but it's not on the agenda. So I was just raising that point. So Chair, I appreciate the time on that issue.
Okay. So I think I'm trying to find where I'm at on the agenda now.
Chairperson's report.
Okay, the chairperson's report. I don't have a big report. I'd just like to to say that I attended the presentation. I actually participated in a presentation that was done on the 10th of February to legislators. I'd like to congratulate the staff. It was a very comprehensive and informative presentation. I think it was well received by the senators present, and judging by the interactive discussions that went on for a bit, I think we did well. One thing we did take away from that, which I didn't know before, was that according to the Senate President, they're going to establish a subcommittee of their budget committee. That's the legislature's budget committee. They were going to establish a subcommittee to address GERS matters, and that subcommittee is going to be chaired by Senator VLA. I must say that since that meeting, I've reached out to Senator VLA. He's off island, and I indicated to him what I wanted to talk to him about. Would it be a follow-up to that, based on what the Senate President said, and he indicated as soon as he's due back on island on Monday, and he'll contact me soon thereafter. So I look forward to establishing that dialogue with him on that issue. The other thing I want to comment on is that I also attended the board session of the early stages of the strategic planning initiative that's ongoing, and I look forward to engaging more fully in that activity. I think it's an important initiative, and I'm looking forward to its conclusion. And that's complete. That completes my report.
Chair, I had a comment in reference to the same meeting.
Okay, go ahead.
I had a different spin on the meeting. I thought that
Which one?
the same.
There are two of them I talked about.
Okay, so I'm talking about the 34th legislature
Okay,
orientation meeting that was
Okay.
held on Wednesday, February 10th by Zoom from 9 to 12. My take on that meeting, I'm at a different place. I think if somebody doesn't show up in any organization, that shouldn't stop the process from moving forward. And we can make all the recommendations we want, but you and I asked at least 5 or 6 times for a follow-up date, and we never got that. So if we don't have a follow-up date, then we're kind of in limbo at this point. And I don't personally want to be there. So we still need to do what we need to do as trustees and present to them what we believe could help from changing some of the language. We can do that through Attorney Smith and the system with Mr. Nibbs, but we just need to keep it moving at this point because there are a lot of different groups, segments of the government talking about putting committees together. And those are just committees and talk, but we have to do what we need to do to move forward. Those are just talk right now. Subcommittees of this committee of that. There were previous committees. When you read some of, I read some of those reports. There were a few changes, but they weren't the type of changes to help the system. You're still losing the millions of dollars every month, and there's no capacity building along the way. So I don't want to sit here and fool anybody, but we just need to not rely on that. We need to do what we need to do. So I think we need to start looking at those assets. And if they want to help us improve those assets, help us move around the assets at Havenside, where we control the whole dock, because just by controlling the dock, the fee structure changes on the fees that come into that port. They will be coming to us. Just the fees alone would be an improvement without even putting one dime into the property. So I just expect different from individuals. I would put it that way, because I don't want to feel like anybody I'm attacking or directing anything to. But it's like I said, it is what it is. That's all I have to say about that. So
Okay,
I really wasn't happy about that meeting. Nothing came out of it. I made 3 or 4 requests and you couldn't answer me. And then the other thing I would say for the record, going forward, Chair, if we're having meetings, someone wants to meet with us, they shouldn't dictate on the terms how we meet. Everything should be taped. It should be a record. It shouldn't be like, we don't want you to tape what we're saying. So why are you coming to us? We have to be transparent. We have to be transparent. So I was very disappointed that wasn't recorded. And I came into the meeting late, but I'm still disappointed it wasn't recorded.
okay. Administrator's report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On February 2nd, I attended a special board meeting. On the 3rd, I met with Senator Fred Gregory, Siegel representatives, Rocky Joyner and Alvin Frias, and General Counsel Kathy Smith in a Zoom meeting to discuss GERS funding. On the 4th of February, I met with the American Federation of Teachers in regards to rental at Havenside Mall. On the 5th, I met with senior management on proposed reduction in force of our employees. On the 8th, I met with Carlos Ferreira, which is our architect, at some of the work that we're doing at Havenside Mall, Otis Smith, Roy Moyed, staff, and Tanya Bushalti to discuss concerns of the contractor regards to the Havenside Mall roofing program. On the 9th, I met with the owner's rep and the contractor in regards to the roofing program again. On the 10th, I met with the 34th legislature and the legislature's overview. On the 16th, I had a kickoff meeting with a contractor by the name of DCM on the erection of the maintenance buildings at Havenside Mall. And the contract has been signed. On the 17th, I attended a special board meeting. Membership applications, as you can see, there's 165 applications, which include central government and semi-autonomous agencies as of January 31, 2021 retiree payroll. For 2021 calendar year, so far we have received 24 applications. If you note that 2020 has been a slow period for us, compared to 2018 of 402 applications and 2019 315. 2020 we received 232. Regards to the disability life certificates, the same, in the same position. Out of 231 letters that we sent out, we have received and validated 199. One person was deceased, and 31 still waiting pending life certificates. And those individuals' annuities have been held back until we hear from them, or suspended. Refunds, January 2021, from October 1, 2020 to January 2021, we have paid out $1.8 million. Of that $1.8 million were for members who were vested of 1.6. Death benefits, also we have paid out, same period, $550,000. As of the February 15, 2021 payroll, there were 8,663 retirees receiving benefits. Total amount paid to retirees and pensioners from October to January 15 payroll was $96.6 million. From October 1 to February 15th, we have added 272 individuals, retirees to the payroll. For the same period, we have deleted 108.
Mr. Libbs, that January 15th date, is that correct?
I looked when I just.
That looks like a high number. What was that?
Well, it's that's October, November, December, January, February. That's 5 months times about.
Well, it says from it's October to January 15th, so that's not 5 months.
But I'm saying I'll have to check and see. I just saw that that was an oversight, because it's about 21, let's say 22 million a month. So I'll have to check that, sir. That's an oversight. I didn't see that.
Okay.
So the gross payroll Payday January 15, 2021 was $10.7 million. As far as a loan portfolio, as you can see, it's decreasing. At January 31, 2021, we have 2,545 units compared to 2,580 units in December for personal loans. And our mortgages, January 31, we have 88 units. The total portfolio as of January 2021 is $32.3 million. In operations, there are some issues with the buildings that are still pending. The fire protection annual inspection was delayed. The ground preparation for the planting has been completed and irrigation has started. And as far as the buildings are concerned, we're still waiting an estimate for the damaged floor tiles in the building. The building is about 10 years old now, so the tiles, some of the tiles are cracking. The maintenance, the quarterly maintenance on the air conditioning system was done, completed in the end of January. Some projects with the security doors installation, they were 70% complete. This was a recommendation made by, I think it was by FEMA, in regards to individuals that comes to the office and active shooting in case that happened, God forbid. In St. Thomas office, the air conditioner, which is a large product, is on its way. It's getting there. The actual installation began on January 7, 2021. We had to move those units, old units from the roofs, and the units are now on the ground. And the project is working smoothly. There were some issues with some cooling in certain areas, but that has been corrected. Ducts cleaning, that has been also been done. It continues on the second and the third floor, cleaning all the ducts, mold, concentration, things like that. There's also a roof project, the flat roof project. Same contractor is on the job at Havenside Mall. That project is slated to be completed by the end of March before the rainy season comes in. As far as the generator, there was no major problems with equipment. However, there's need for a pump, and that is being ordered. We also have to install some perimeter fencing at the St. Thomas complex to protect the air conditioner units on the ground, and that is estimates are being done for that. As far as the rent and electrical, you can also see that in Exhibit A. As of January 2020, we collected $26,269.63. Total fiscal year to date, we collected a total of $111,755.81. Of that, $101,963.47 rental. Our arrearages, very high. So far, the fiscal year to date, $497,415.14. Of that amount, $303,784.82 is electrical. As you can see from Exhibit A, the majority of that arrearages in the electrical area is the Department of Justice. And we are working on that. I would want Ms. Clendenin, if she needs to just expound on that a little, as what we have done between the January board meeting. Ms. Clendenin comes.
Pleasant good morning, trustees and everyone else on the call. I spoke to Ms. Jennifer O'Neill last week, the director of OMB. I have had previous conversations with Ms. O'Neill about assisting the Department of Justice in getting that electricity and rental payment to us. Their challenge is twofold. The property and procurement director, commissioner, is no longer taking justification letters, which they have been writing monthly because of the expired lease to pay the rental. So they have a backlog in that. We have since agreed on a division of personnel lease, so we're waiting for them to sign, and we sent a new lease to Justice, and we're waiting on that also to be returned. So those arrears could be taken care of with an executed lease. Secondly, the electricity, the challenge there is in their budgets, the electricity through the legislature, it's a line item directly to WAPA as the payee. So I'm working with Ms. O'Neill to figure out how that portion for the GRS can come directly here. I have since sent her the breakdown of what is due, and she is going to, she is committed to get us that funding, and then work on going forward. How do we get our funding for the electricity regularly because of how it's set up in the budget?
Could I jump in here a little bit? Okay, so the appropriation for electricity for the government is all combined in a special line item that's controlled by the Commissioner of Finance, right? And so in order to get paid out of that, how does a normal agency, forget, will come to us in a minute, but how does a normal agency get paid?
I think it's a direct bill. I think those bills are sent directly, so that money, we could make sure, I think their intent is to make sure WAPA gets paid timely. So the bills from the agency go directly to finance, and it's a direct pay to WAPA.
Okay, so the difference there is that when they get a bill from WAPA, it goes to the agency. It's in the name of the agency.
That's correct.
But WAPA doesn't bill in our case, the bill from WAPA comes to us.
Correct.
So I think there got to be some kind of special arrangement there, because they can't, I don't think the finance commissioner is authorized to pay a bill that's out of that account that's billed towards the GRS. It has to be billed towards an agency.
That's correct. And that's what she is working on, just to take care of the arrears first. And then moving forward, how we're going to set it up so this doesn't occur again.
Okay. Okay, we need to follow up on that because okay, go ahead. Maybe you and I could have some discussion about how we could fix that, because that's going to be a problem going forward. And, it's going to be a situation where it's not in her, she can't influence it directly because the appropriation is made to finance, and finance can't pay it because the bill is not made to a government agency. So we got to figure out, okay. Well,
Well, that's what she was brainstorming about. She had some ideas of what they can do, but yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay.
But does GRS send a utility bill to the agency?
No, we send a utility breakdown. The Virgin Islands Finance Housing Authority gets the actual bill. They're federal. They want to see a copy of the bill, but they don't pay the bill. They still pay us based on their square footage and the percentage they occupy. They pay a percentage of the bill. So we send them an electricity bill invoice from us based on their square footage, based on the number or the amount that was billed to us. But they don't get like an actual WAPA bill.
Well, I understand, but I'm saying, but it would be the same thing. I mean, they get in the utility bill from GRS or electricity bill, whatever we call it. So then the agency will use that in lieu of a WAPA bill.
Yeah, but the line item is to WAPA directly. So, but we could talk about it.
Yeah, we'll have to work something out because, I mean, when we come to appropriation and line items, those are legal, those are legally specific. So, I mean, I have a little bit of idea about how that works. So the issue is that, when you get a line item appropriation, it's for a specific purpose. And there got to be maybe some different, okay, you got to do something different because it can't work under this present arrangement.
Chair, I just have a point.
Go ahead.
I can make two suggestions. I've made some before, but it is what it is. My suggestion is, as Ms. Clengettins-Gum just indicated, there's a breakdown by square footage as to the costs broken out for each of the parties.
Right.
So that same document could be forwarded to O&B. That's one approach. And then they would pay for Division of Personnel and the Department of Justice in this case, right? The other way we could do it is we can ask for a 3-month deposit and then we just draw down. They can forward that money to us and we draw down. So when we get close to the money running out, we ask for another deposit until they can work it out, right? Until they can work it out. Those are truly our options at this point, because what we're doing now is obviously not working.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And I just wanted to say that arrears are for this fiscal year. It doesn't span like years prior, although the amounts look high.
The amounts are high. They don't look high, they are high.
They're just for this fiscal year, starting October.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the only issue with Lisa is, from what I received from operation is with personnel, justice, and casino commission. I think meetings have been held to negotiate the 1-year lease with Division of Personnel and awaiting signatures. Department of Justice. This acting CEO has sent out follow-up emails to secure dates on February 10th, February 15th, had not received a response to negotiate the one-year lease for October 1, 2021 to 9/30/2022. As far as the Casino Control Commission, they were somewhat reluctant in getting into a one-year lease. We gave them reasons why. And there's a new meeting date, which was supposed to have been held Tuesday. Ms. Glendinning, I think I asked you if that was held. Was it held? I think you responded to me.
It's tentatively, they sent a new date. It's March 4th. So I'll respond after the board meeting.
So we have a March 4th,
Yes.
2021 date. So those are the only three. Division of Personnel seems to be in agreement. Justice, we're still waiting for them to set a date. And also Casino Commission has set a date to meet on March 4th. There's acquiesced to the one-year lease agreement. We're still waiting for the appraisal reports for the St. Thomas and the St. Croix buildings. The appraisals were done. And this is obviously to determine the value so that unless otherwise advised from the board, we would start looking, sending out invitation for bids. Maybe obtain a real estate person, agent, to act on our behalf to see regards to what we can get for those buildings. Strategic planning, that was a meeting on the meeting held recently with UVI. I was unable to attend because of a medical appointment. So there's meetings to be held on the week of the 22nd and March 2nd with active members, retiree members in the 4th, business community on the 9th. Hopefully these meetings can be held at the time that they were scheduled. However, it appears that it's going along pretty well. I'm going to ask Ms. Glendinning to speak about the warehouses. We have our warehouses that are slated to be raised or demolished. And there's one warehouse that we would like to remain and do some repairs to so that we can house the existing warehouse tenants, about 2 or 3 of them. And we are getting into a little snag with FEMA reimbursement. So I'll ask Ms. Glendinning to expound on that, please.
Good morning again. For the warehouses, the GERS, because we are not rebuilding warehouses on the dock as is, opted for a 428 project. And what a 428 project does with FEMA is allow you to use the money received for an alternative use project that's approved by FEMA. We've been going through this about 3 years now. I've been working with FEMA, and we have gotten to this point where we have a costing. In the report, you could say the gross cost for the project of the warehouses, their costing agencies reported that it would cost $2.358 million. They deduct your insurance proceeds, which we got $1.548 million for the warehouses. So it leaves a balance of $710,000. It's a 90-10 cost share, where the federal picks up 90%, which is $639,000, and then GRS would pay an additional $71,000. So the conversation we're having is about $639,000. But for that $639,000, if we demolish the warehouses, currently we don't have a plan what the alternative use is on the books, nor that do we have a plan in the foreseeable future, like a year or 2 out, Whenever it is the GERS decides to do something with that money, be it in a year, 2 or 5 or 6 years from now, we will be accountable for the entire $2.3 million back to FEMA. They would essentially own all our money for $639,000 gift. We would have to go through we call it EHP, which is the environmental hazard.
Wait a minute. Back
Okay.
up.
No
Not sure
problem.
I understand. You lost me there.
Okay,
So I'm with you up until you explain how we go from the gross minus the insurance, leaving this a balance of 710, and that 710 is split 90, 10,
10. Mhm.
and 90% going for FEMA, for FEMA, the federal cost share, and GRS cost is 71,000. Okay, so I'm understanding up there. And then you said this financing is based on our determination to go for a 428 project, meaning that we are allowed we are reimbursed on the basis that we're going to implement an alternative project as opposed to rebuilding what was there.
Correct.
And we have not yet determined what the alternative project is going to be.
Correct.
Okay, I'm with you up to that point. Then you talk about whether we take 2 years, 5 years, and then
Correct.
is when you ask me about.
Okay.
Were you saying that if we have a 5-year window in which to do something, and otherwise we lose them? I mean, well.
Okay.
Clarify that, please.
I'll back up. No problem. I'm saying that because we don't have a shovel-ready project or even an idea of what we're going to do. We don't have bids or an RFP. There is, all we know is that the warehouses sit on prime real estate, and we don't want to rebuild the warehouses as is, except to keep warehouse J.
Okay,
And to do the hazard mitigation on warehouse J, so that could be stronger and not just the metal material is built out of. The other space, because we don't know what we're going to build there, if we build anything there, we might just make it green space. The project as per FEMA is still a $2.358 million project, even though they're only giving us $639,000. So we would be accountable forever in the foreseeable future of how we spent $2.3 million on that warehouse project. For today or 5 years from now, we will always have to be mindful that we're still on the hook for 2.358 million. And if the demolition cost 100,000 and to fix warehouse J cost 200,000, they still need to know what did you do with the other $2 million and be accountable for them.
Now, hold a second. Yeah, okay. On the hook, 1.5 of the 2.3 is insurance money. So how do we get to be on the hook for FEMA for insurance money?
Because they call it, they gross. So if we didn't have insurance, the whole project would have been 2.38. So even though the 1.548 is our money and all they're giving us is 639,000, they're approving the project for 2.3 and saying, we're going to reduce that amount by your insurance proceeds and then 90-10 the balance. But the entire project should cost $2,358,468.20. So when we send in receipts, because everything is reimbursable, they don't give you the money first, the receipts for that warehouse area project has to total $2,358,468.20. So my question would be to the board, is it worth it? It's been 3 years.
Okay.
Okay, can I mention one quick thing? Instead of getting into this complicated matter with deadlines and no plan, why don't we just like put that on hold, take the insurance money and build something with the insurance money, even if we need to make it temporary for storage or whatever, house these three particular people, or tenants.
I mean, that's where I'm thinking also. I mean,
Well, that was my recommendation. I spoke with Ms. Glendinning, and I think we should just go with insurance money, forget about FEMA. There was some consultant that did a plan and was presented to the board to put up some high-end type structures for retail upfront by the dock, and also build some apartments, like business apartments, on the top of those high-end stores. That was never approved, but it was brought to the board. There's some talk of also probably making it more of a green space and do some recreational things there for, when the kids come in, and you can do a lot of arts and crafts and things on the area of the dock. But my recommendation would be to forget about FEMA and go with the insurance proceeds and remodel and tear the buildings down.
what's is there a FEMA deadline?
Yes, I meet with FEMA, with O'Brien, Vitima, and ODR every 2 weeks about this project. So Monday is our next meeting. I've already brought this concern to their attention, that if we don't know what we want to do, but we decide in 3 years what we're going to do with the project, or 4 years from now, we're still accountable to them. Even not 5 years from now, when we decide today, sending quarterly report, like, you would still be in their midst until something is done. So I've already thrown it out. I said I would bring it to the administrator, and then he would bring it to the board. We've already be slated for about 1.6 million. We have already managed to obligate from FEMA. So it's not like we're not getting any money at all. We have done a tremendous job in getting every dollar we can. But I didn't know if this one for the warehouses is worth it.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
My recommendation.
So we're not saying no to all the projects. Again, we've already obligated 1.6 million. We've collected most of that already. This is just for the warehouses.
My question is, do we have a deadline to make a decision? I mean, when
We could withdraw the project at any time. I have to approve. They just sent me an approval, and they usually give us 5 days for the approval. What I can check is, even if I approve it, what's the deadline to withdraw it? I know they said you can withdraw the project at any time, Aisha. I just wanted to make sure of the point of no return, kind of. I will find that out. I do not know at this point.
Chair, point of information.
go ahead.
I just try and get clarification from Ms. Clennon Gums. You said that you've been on this for 3 years?
Yes.
Okay, so over those 3 years, well, let me ask Mr. Nibbs. Mr. Nibbs, you've been at this for 3 years, and there was a plan proposed, or it was never a plan proposed? I'm trying to get clarification on that, Mr. Nibbs.
What you're saying, you've been on it for 3 years. It's after the hurricane. Obviously, Wyco was the agent, and we've been trying to get those warehouses torn down.
Oh, okay.
There was a consultant that Pickle, who did a consultant report and recommended that we tear those warehouses down and put some high-end stores closer to the dock with apartment, like business units on top of those apartments, close to the water. I know Wyco didn't like that. I've spoken to Wyco before. They felt that, people on the ships could be looking down on people, but that's the way it's done in a lot of ports in Florida. It's done that way. People like to be by the water. You would also have maybe Starbucks and all of those type of things in that area. there was some discussions since we took over in regards to just opening up as like a park, some green space with benches and have some recreational area, for families and things like that. But there was a recommendation to the board to do some high-end structures right up to the dock with some high-end type businessmen coming in and want to stay in town, close to the town and, close to the water.
I think we need to make a decision.
Yeah, it's something that needs to,
I would hate for us to lose for $71,000. We lose $2.5 million. I mean that's we have an opportunity to get a $2.4 million project with $71,000 of our own money. We need to find a way to exploit that, I think.
I just want to add one more thing, trustees, if I may, that we are not allowed to touch the warehouses while we are going through the process. Environmental protection and hazard mitigation could take months. And I know around the territory, you see derelict buildings and you want to know why they haven't done anything, because you can't. So even if we decide to go forward with the project, which is fine, we could not tear down or do anything to the buildings until those agencies approve it. And I've already been told that takes quite some time.
Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I had lost my communication. I just got it back. So, Mr. Nibbs, and Chair, I'm still at a little disadvantage because I did ask for a copy of the contract that the board had with WICO and managing the properties. Because it sounds like someone is being derelict in their responsibility. So I'm sure in that contract, it probably has some objectives that they had to meet as managing the government asset. Because where I sit is like they manage this property, they let it go down, and now they would like to take it over. So it's like you're a slumlord in a sense. You let the asset go to nothing. So now we had the hurricanes hit. The board at the time, I guess, made some requests for improvements, and we are where we're at today. So I'm thinking, Chair, that this may be something else that just needs to come to committee so that we can start moving on it. I don't want to put all this on just the system itself. I think we as a board, whatever committee you decide, we need to just move on this. And I was thinking, as far as monies, I agree. We should probably leave the FEMA money at this point, unless we're going to utilize community block grant portions of monies that could do the offsets for us through the sponsor of the plan. Unless we're going to approach it from that standpoint. That's another option we have. And I don't know if that came up in any discussions. I haven't heard anything about it, but it's over $1 billion sitting out there that we could use to tap into to help develop this project on our own. So we just need to get it moving.
Okay.
all right.
Well, why don't we make that a second agenda item for the investment committee?
Okay, but
Chair, I would like to still get a copy of the document on what the
that's no
contract
copy
was
of
with WICO.
That's no copy of the agreement. There's no agreement presently with WICO. I can give you copies of the prior agreement. You did ask for it. I can send that to you. That's no problem.
Thank you.
I just want to mention, Trustee Dorsey, I've just been informed that your device has arrived and has been completed, set up. So IT will be making arrangement to have it to you the week of the 1st or the 2nd.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. I put IT, information technology, on the agenda because, as you know, we migrated to the new V3 environment, which is a platform in the cloud. And I just want the director, the chief, to just mention certain things to you. We did have some challenges and we have overcome most of them. So I'm going to ask the chief, Terrence Thomas, to give you a little update. Terry?
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Terry.
Okay. As Mr. Nibbs pointed out, we migrated our V3 platform on January 18th from being in-house to being in the cloud. In a system of vendor Vitek has called Velocity. The primary reason for doing that was back in 2011, 2012, GRS made an investment in the hardware to run that system. And essentially the same hardware has been in use since the system went live in 2012. We had some choices to make, and after the twin hurricanes, the decision was made to move all of our line of business platforms to the cloud for a number of reasons, including the ability for us to spring back in the event we had a major disaster without having, excuse me, to worry about losing our data center. As I've said in previous presentations, we actually dodged a bullet when Hurricane Irma and Maria passed through. As Mr. Nibbs pointed out, we had some challenges during the first few weeks of the migration to Velocity. We went through a period of about 4 to 5 weeks of having our staff do some testing of this system. However, once we went fully live with it, we had some issues where during the height of the day when almost everyone was signed on, the system would log them out. We've had a number of meetings with Vitek, especially with their technical team, to address those issues. They've been able to narrow down the issues and have implemented some fixes. As of this week, meaning the week of the 22nd, we've been monitoring performance. I haven't seen anything come across my desk reporting people having access issues. Some of the other issues that exist have been worked on. For example, our records management operation. That is also a cloud-based solution. There's some security issues that came up with that cloud system accessing the V3 cloud. And we've been able to work out a solution which has been and is being implemented. Overall, what the Velocity system allows us to do is set the stage for GRS to migrate to updated version of V3. I've pointed out in presentations to the board during previous board retreats that we are probably one of 2 Vitek clients that are still running version 8.x of V3. They're currently up to version 10.x, which is a totally new platform. So this gets us started in that direction. It also gives us a level of additional security that we didn't have running the instance in-house and outdated equipment. So as of today, and as of this time, I haven't seen any reports come across my desk that says people are still having access issues. So we've been able to resolve those issues up to this point.
So I just wanted the board to get an update on that because we did have some challenges and, members were concerned and, a little frustrated, but we have overcome those challenges. And I think it's doing pretty well. I think now since we're in the cloud, if we do have a catastrophic hurricane again, as long as we have connectivity, even if we have to go to another island or something like that to get the payroll out, or we can use ADT. We do have a backup, but that would be prior period payroll. But as long as we have some type of connectivity, we'll be able to access our information on the network in the cloud. Any questions? The last thing I would like to mention is that, as you know, we had a Sinkhole retiree election. Okay. We did have the last thing on my report. We did complete the Sinkhole retiree election. As you know, it was held. It began on January 8th, 2021, and it ended on February 8th, 2021. 2 nomination packages were received. Election committee and election observers convened on Sinkhole, and the 2 packages were reviewed on February 9th. The election committee, with the agreement of the observers, deemed that neither candidate met all the requirements as required by law, which states that 3 VIC section 715A 2 requires that, with the exception of 2 members of the Central Labor Council and the Director of Personnel, members of the Board of Trustees shall have at least 5 years experience and at least a bachelor's degree in any of the following: investment banking, economics, finance, insurance, law, medicine, accounting, actuarial science, taxation, real estate appraisal, or brokerage and security training. So therefore, none of the two, the 2 individuals who put forth themselves were deemed qualified or met all of the requirements. Therefore, we plan to do another round of elections, I guess, in about 60 days. That's all I have.
Question, Chair.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I have a question for the IT. And I guess from Mr. Nibbs as well. Are we at the point, because I haven't been able to check recently, but are we at the point where members can actually go online and check their status if they wanted to, say, look to retire, that they would be able to look at something that would give them an idea where they would stand before they actually physically have to come in or talk to you over line to verify? Are we at that point yet?
All the members' records can be viewed by a member if they have a password. Also, we do an annual statement.
Mhm.
The last one should be getting one through December 30, 2020, very shortly. It'll be available. That would tell you how many years you have, you know, what would be your, probably your expected benefit payment, things like that. It would list all of your periods where you were employed. So yes, there's things that they can look at to determine, but these are just, there has to be more due diligence by the benefits analyst, but they do have a snapshot as to where they are.
So, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Nibbs, how far does the information in the system that you now have uploaded to the cloud, how far does it go back?
Well, it goes back to a certain point. I think there was some issue where they had to bring over lump sum data, but any member should be able to, and I don't want to maybe miss Trendinen because she's in charge of that area, because I know that there were some issues with older retirees, but now since you have new people who came in probably in the 90s, you should be able to go right back to the beginning from inception of your employment. Is that correct, Ms. Glendinen?
Yes, Mr. Nibbs. Tier 1 members should be able to see their annual statements, and all members can see their posted contributions on their account. We're still having some issues about with images. So if somebody cannot see something, they can call our customer service line, and we'll be more than happy to try to help them through that.
I'd just like to add to what has been said, Trustee Dorsey. It's my understanding when they migrated from the previous system over to V3 in 2012, there were some records that were, as Mr. Nibbs pointed out, were brought over in a lump sum fashion. I think those records are for people who may have been members of the system prior to, I want to say 2005. I'm not 100% accurate on that. But if you were in the system a long time ago, you're not going to be able to go back and see the minutia in terms of every single contribution you made that was brought over as lump sum information.
So is that information available that you're saying you can't see?
The lump sum or the
Yes,
individual?
the lump sum.
The lump sum is there, yes.
Okay, so does the lump sum include the 9 unfunded liabilities?
No, this is just the only information that GRS tracks for each member is what the member pays, and then also what the employer pays, the government's contribution. In terms of the unfunded liabilities and those kind of things, that's not in the system, no.
Yeah. If you
Well,
go up,
what I was asking, Mr. Nibbs, Mr. Thomas, Ms. Clendon Gums, of the unfunded liabilities, it's obvious what was happening at that time. So I was just trying to figure out if the data that you collected, it would include those individuals who benefited from those early Christmas bills. Because today the system is making recommendations on tier 1 employees to
But
give
those-
up something to help the system. However, during those unfunded liability years, you had individuals that were leaving because they took whatever position at the end of their career and they didn't put in the proper amount. It's similar to some of the other branches of government in the retirement plan that they have. They're not putting in the proper amount and they're able to go home and not putting in the proper amount, but you're asking those in the tier 1 side to make up that difference. So I'm asking the system itself, I'm asking if you have those records in order for you as a system to go back and sit down with those individuals who are now receiving an annuity, who didn't put in the proper amount. You should be able to tell them that now. And that's the only point I was making,
I'm not
because
sure
that's cash that needs to come back to the system, that needs to stay in the system. And maybe some of those annuities need to be adjusted just based on those unfunded liabilities.
Sir,
Mr. Thomas, why don't you say what the system has in it? What could you get as I mean, it's trying to explain what's not in there. Why don't you explain what information is available on the system?
What has been paid in? If you go to the annual statement of any employee, it will show you from day one what you paid in and what the employer paid in. Now, further due diligence is done, because if you go to my statement, it will see that I don't owe anything. And it'll see that the employer paid in everything, because I was very meticulous to make sure that that happened. So when an employee gets their annual statement ending December 30, 2020, probably can get it, it'll be up for probably February or March. They should be able to go and look and determine if there's any deficit in any employee or employer contributions. And then they work with the analyst to determine where. So there's a way to determine, yes.
That's not what I was asking, Mr. Nibbs.
The 12 unfunded mandates, Trustee Dorsey, is gone. Those people are retired. This is an actuarial thing that has to be done. There's no way we can go back and get any money from any employee. This was something that was done legislatively.
Mr. Nibbs, I hear you, but I'm just trying to state my position.
I understand what you're saying, but we can't go back. We're not going to go back now and look at thousands of employees to determine what they paid in. It's gone. They're retired. They retired at 50.
Mr.
They're
Nibbs,
still living 30 years ago.
Mr. Nibbs, all I was asking, Mr. Thomas, if the software, you have this new software, and I'm happy that you have it. I was just asking if you're able to figure out with those unfunded liabilities, with those members, because at the end of the day, Mr. Nibbs, Mr. Thomas, Ms. Clendon Gums, this is one system. It's not that you've been gone for a certain amount of time. You are now asking, hold on, Mr. Nibbs, you're now asking active employees, the tier 1 employees, to take up for the hiccups of something they had no control over. These people put in their time. They put in their 20 to 30 years, some cases 40. And you're saying they must take a hit. This is the recommendation. They must take a hit for the time they put in. It's not right. We all need to be in this together. And I'm going to go back and say, all branches of government, all retirement systems, this will go up to the governor. We all need to be in this plan together. There's no free lunch. We know sitting here, at least you guys who've been there, I don't know, I just came on, but you guys know if you have unfunded liability, obviously something wasn't funded properly for individuals to go home. So if you know they didn't pay their fair amount and you're gonna keep paying them, then that means you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. Just my point.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Can I, Kathy,
Okay,
let me
okay,
finish.
hold
Can I
on, hold
finish?
on.
Let me respond to Mr. Dorsey. Mr. Dorsey, number one, we didn't bring over those old records at all. They're not in the system. We didn't bring over no retiree records. Okay, so I don't know how we're gonna go back manually looking for records maybe, but we didn't bring them over to the system because they were already gone out. So we didn't bring those records into the system, new system. Okay.
I think
Okay,
that, wait a minute, Kathy, Tony Smith. I think where I'm sitting, the best way to answer Trustee Dorsey's inquiry is to tell him what the system could produce. And I mean, we're trying to explain what it cannot do. And I don't know how we're gonna get there. What information is available to a current retiree that they could access on their own? I think that was the origin of the question. So I think if you answer that, you know, I don't know if you're satisfied, but it will answer the question. I don't know how you'll spend the whole day trying to explain what it cannot do. I think it's easier for you to explain what it can do. What information?
Mr. Chair, I think they already did that.
Well,
I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with the former chair. You answered the first question. You answered that. But you know, sometimes when you ask a follow-up, which I did, you'll have reasons why you don't want to answer that question, right? And it's not about my satisfaction. You indicated to me, Mr. Nibbs, that you guys have the information, but you didn't bring it over. Mr. Thomas indicated that it's in a pool, it's in a group, but you didn't bring it over for whatever reason. You didn't bring it over, so you have the information. So the other comment you made, how do we go back? Well, I'll give you one suggestion. We could hire some part-time UVI students. We can look at the same cell program that has a document going around now, trying to figure out what's going on. There are options to get that information, but the point is you indicated you have the information. You just verified that people who went home didn't pay their fair share. And now you're asking tier one to take a hit. That's all I was saying. You know.
Tier one.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make something clear. The members who retired early under those programs are not responsible to pay the cost of the unfunded mandate. Those were enacted by the legislature and the plan sponsor, and it's the plan sponsor's responsibility to pay the cost of any early retirement programs.
That's what
That's a very good point, Attorney Smith. And I'm just glad you jumped in. I appreciate that support. And that's my point, Mr. Nibbs. We need to probably have this meeting, which is recorded going forward, with the Senate and with the government. We with the governor's office. We need to get this done, and we don't need to say we have a new software for active. We were happy about that. But the issue lies in those unfunded liabilities, and we need to start where we need to start. I already made the suggestion before that we need to have that meeting sooner than later. So.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but the actuary tells us we know what the unfunded liability is.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Mr. Thomas, you're done?
Yes, I would just like to reiterate again, the information that's stored in V3 is what the members / annuitants have paid in and what the government has paid in for them. I'm not a legal mind here, but I
And
know.
that information goes back how far?
Okay, I think at the conversion time in 2012, those people who went back, I think it's around 2005, and like I said, I stand to be corrected, but there were lump sums brought over for those people who met that particular criteria.
Okay, but since the bringing over of the lump sum, you have detailed information from that
Right,
day.
right. And just for the record, let me say this. I joined GRS in 1995. I left in 2004. The old system that existed did not provide the level of detail that you now have. For example, in the old system, you could not tell what agency a person was working for when they were paying contributions. You can in this current system, okay? I heard Trustee Dorsey is saying, and I think that's one of the issues, and Kathy can correct me if I'm wrong, that came up in that district court proceedings, because that information is what was presented in terms of the ADEC and so forth.
Okay. All right, anything else on administrator's report?
Mr. Chairman, very briefly, I'll be leaving at 12 o'clock. This is Liger.
Okay, all right.
Well, you came late.
I mean, I can tell you what time.
Committee reports, committee reports. Any committee reports?
None from the medical review committee.
Okay, hearing none. Treasurer's report.
Good morning, Board Chair, other trustees. This is the Government Employees Retirement System Schedule of Receipts and Disbursements for the month ending January 31st, 2021. Receipts from collections, loan repayments, 1,404,899. Year to date, 5,300,679. Rent from tenants / utilities, 34,078. Year to date, 179,609. I'm sorry. Employee retirement contributions, 10,031,290. Year to date, 41,513. Employer retirement contributions, 5,232,046. Year to date, 15,761,832. Parking facility, 295. Year to date, 2,940. Miscellaneous, 329,301. Year to date, 4,887,192. Total collection, 17,031,909. Year to date collection, 57,173,764. Disbursements, annuity payments, 21,758,920. Year to date, 87,904,866. Administrative expenses, 808,912. Year to date, 4,578,098. Personal loans, 15,642. Year to date, 112,045. Mortgage loans, 29,580. Year to date, 58,084. Retiree loans, 334. Year to date, 3,133. There was nothing for auto loans. Refund of contributions, 328,216. Year to date, 2,570,463. Total disbursements, 22,941,604. Year to date, 95 million.
Yeah, finish that. I have a question, but
95,226,688 for a net cash deficit of 5,909,695. Year to date, net cash deficit of 38,052,924.
yeah, I had a quick question. Is that, did you find that the refund amount is going up? I mean, do we see unusually high? I'm assuming the refund amount to people who are taking out what's in the system, right?
Correct.
Is that number going up? Either in terms of dollars or in terms of number of people?
I don't have a count of the number of people who are refunded. I just have dollar amount. So that maybe in Mr. Nib's numbers that he presented earlier, he had that count, I believe.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, I agree that you only, but from the dollars perspective, is that number going up monthly? Is it unusually high, or is it?
Well,
normal?
if you look at the year to date, it's lower than last year. Last year was 3,647,000.
That's sure. Okay, you got a point.
At this time last year.
Same last year. Okay. Okay. Mr. Nibs, the number, is there anything in the numbers that indicate?
Well, I tried to look at the dollars, but I can go back to the numbers.
Okay. I mean, if you don't have it, that's.
No, I haven't have it. I have it for just year to date. I'm gonna have to go back to see what it was year to date the same time last year.
Okay. I just wondering if the
Yeah.
pending insolvency is encouraging folks to back out of the system or not.
Yeah, or they're waiting until, getting closer to.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Havenside Mall operation for the month ending January 31st, 2021. Rents from tenants, 90,234. Year to date, 225,884. We have a total collection of 90,234. Year to date, 653,964. We have disbursements totaling 283,705. Year to date, 1,209,593 for a net cash deficit of 193,471. Year to date, net cash deficit of 555,629. And that ends the treasurer's report.
Okay, so we're annualizing about $1.6 million at the end of the year, negative.
About that.
That's about what we said in the budget, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay. Any questions?
Chair, I just have a question for Ms. Jeremiah. Can you just explain the Internal Revenue Matching Fund, $4 million received in October? Where is that coming from exactly, and where is that being applied?
That is coming from the the plan sponsor, and what we use that money for is to assist, I believe, Mr. Nibs, with, it is applied to the contribution, the employer contribution. So what it does really is bring down, I believe, the liability. However, we apply it to anybody who's going home from the central government. We apply whatever is owed to them from this amount and reduce it as we go along.
We don't bill the central government anymore because we have surplus and we keep a spreadsheet of every, and we liquidate the balances. And when we get down to our small balances and we need to replenish, we let the central government bill. Before we used to bill every agency, and I think Chairman Barry was there when we used to send those bills up. But we made a decision not to do that. The government gives us monies, and then from the Internal Revenue Matching Fund, and then we use that for any contributions, employer contributions that are missing.
Okay, so is there any way we can increase that amount? Is there a request we have to make?
That's a legislative. We get $10 million a year from the legislature, from the Internal Revenue Matching Fund.
I'll explain what that is, because as Mr. Nib said, I was at OMB when that started. Every year the legislature makes an appropriation, a line item appropriation, and that's specifically to be used in the event that there's an employee about to retire, and that employee has paid up his or her contribution, but the government piece is lacking. Rather than waiting, keeping the employee, suspended animation, waiting for the government, and rather than having to bill individual departments to get that money, the GRS is allowed to send that list to OMB, and OMB will pay the government's delinquency out of that so that the employee could retire.
So Chairman Boyd, that's a law on the books. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a line item appropriation by the legislature. So I mean,
Okay.
that's a line item appropriation is like is a legal, it carries legal weight.
So the language, can I get a copy of the language on how that works with this matching fund portion? Can I get a copy of the language?
It's in the government's budget, I guess. Mr. Nibs, you could see if OMB could.
I can see if I can find the legislation. Plus, it's a miscellaneous section of the.
It's a line item in the budget every year.
So it's in the miscellaneous section of the budget every year. So I understand that. I would like to see a copy of the language. And I was asking Chair, how much is in that account?
I don't know
where this money, where the line item comes from, right? And the internal matching fund, how much is in the account overall before they extract the 4 million? How much is still left in the account every year?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, I can start with the language. If I can get a copy of that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jeremiah.
All right.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? If not,
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report, but I was waiting for you to say that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. That's my bad. Yeah, I had a motion to accept the. Did we accept the other reports?
There are no other reports before.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So move, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Moved and seconded.
Trustee Callender,
Yes.
Trustee Cohen,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger. Trustee Liger.
Yes.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Okay. Thank you. Investment officer's report. Yes. That's Gustavo.
Gustavo.
All right, yes, thanks for the new title. I'm happy to give you an update of the month of January, pretty much. We gave you an update.
Be careful, and your title doesn't pay as much.
But at least I will have a retirement. Jokes aside, we prepared a couple of slides on the January performance report, as well as some comments on the markets. We already briefed you on what happened on the fourth quarter. So this information is only taking the point of view of the month of January 2021. I believe that you have the report in your hands. That being the case, I will ask you please to jump into page number 4. I will touch on this macro update on a couple of data points that I believe that are important to take into consideration to perhaps give some understanding of what's going on in the markets. The first one is absolutely clear here, is that this chart represents the global cases for COVID. Definitely impacted by lockdowns and vaccine distribution. We are starting to see globally the cases coming in a downward trend. The hope on the markets is that this can continue and it's not being disrupted by new variants or any disruptions in the distribution. But we are starting to see this trend. I think that it's in the hope of all of us that, in fact, we continue to see this trend going all the way down very, very soon. I will ask you to switch to the next page, page number 5, please, which is also a graphic representation of the percentage of total vaccinations per 100 inhabitants in that specific geographic region. Definitely, as we all seen on television, Israel is making very good distribution of the vaccines, and this actually is what keeps the hopes of economic growth. All this, as you can imagine, is already priced in price of equities and in inflation expectations. Any disruption on any of these trends would definitely signify a major shift in the market. So what I'm trying to imply with my comments is that even though we are all very hopeful, we are seeing vaccination getting distributed, we are still have, unfortunately, the possibilities of any of these disruptions coming in, which will increase volatility in the markets, which will affect definitely the prices. Next page, page 6, it's actually market returns from the month of January. We saw a little bit of a break of the upward trend in equities in the month of January compared to what was the trend the last couple of months in 2020. Basically, there were some fears about the logistical issues of the vaccine rollout and distribution. Europe at the end of 2020 went back to lockdown. All that affected in general the volatility in the market, and January ended up by a retreat of 1% in the S&P 500, also a 1% retreat in the developed markets. Emerging markets was actually saw a nice pickup in performance in the month of January, basically driven by the expectations of China growth rate in the short term. I will ask you, please, if you can switch to the next page, page 7. This is a graphic representation of what we've seen in the S&P in the last couple of months. And as you see there, during the month of January, is when we saw that slight decline. The reason that I stop on this page is that that I believe is a reflection of the fears of anything that might go a little bit away from the very optimistic view of the future in terms of vaccine rollout, growth rate, and unemployment will definitely be a major determinant of volatility in the market. Excuse me. I will ask you to please jump one page, 2 pages ahead, go to page 9. This chart is a representation of the sector returns during 2020 in blue and 2021. This is basically January in green. As you've seen, they are not all correlated. At least this is only 1 month data in the months of in the year of 2021. But basically, the message is, as we starting seeing the economies open up around the world, and basically this is the US, because of vaccine distribution and herd immunity, you will start seeing a little bit of reallocation of those assets that were basically allocated into growth stocks, you know, the Amazons, the Apples of the world, into more staples, right? So a good example is there in that chart. You have a big blue line on information technology, 43%, while it was down on the month of January by almost 1%. And on the energy side, you see a big drawdown in 2020 on energy at minus 33%, while you see in January a pickup 4.3%. So we will start seeing this rotation probably as economies start moving forward. And again, with the caveat that any disruptions in any of the optimistic point of view in the near future will definitely create volatility. And this is the fear, right? The volatility moving forward. I will ask you to please jump into page 12, which again, a data point here that the markets have already priced in, that stimulus, right, has been so helpful, and the project of the new administration, or the plan for the new administration, is actually to pass on this 1.9 trillion stimulus, which definitely has, you know, creating some headlines and comments from one side of the aisle to the other side of the line. If it is too much, it's too little. We are not in a position to make a judgment on how big or how small, if it's too much, if it's too little. The point is that any stimulus that is directed to the real economy hopefully will have an impact in creating the jobs that we are still missing and create some growth. So this is also, even though it's still in discussion, this is also something that is already priced in the price of the equities. There's the expectation that this will generate some inflation expectations, that where you see a change in yields, and that where you see all these discussions about is this too much or too little. I will ask you to jump into, we are going to move forward with a couple of pages to page 16. These are the graphic representation of the yield curves. Green was December 19 before the pandemic. Then we moved down to, after pandemic, December 20, what was, you know, a big decline in all the different durations of the curve. And then actually January, because of how that you see that markets actually retracted, there was these fears, and every time there's fear, just people moves back into fixed income, which lowered again the yield on the curves a little bit. We see a pickup back again in February. A lot of discussion in terms of inflation. What is really interesting that I listened to it, in fact, yesterday, when I was listening to Chair Powell, was his comments about, you know, in general, market participants are focusing on the economic growth rates, and how that would generate inflation, which definitely is a point. They have a point. However, the plans that Powell was actually disclosing also taking into consideration the 10 million people that are still out of jobs. And remember that those are the two mandates that Powell has very much stated every time that he can, right? That his charter has two folds. One is, economic growth and stimulus, and the other is unemployment, get it to low levels of unemployment. So if we just focus on the possibilities of short-term economic growth, then we might be in agreement with the market participants. There are some inflationary pressures, and perhaps there's a case for the Fed to start backing up on their QE. But if you just think on the still 10 million people that are out of jobs, then definitely there's still some need of the Fed programs actually to help lower that unemployment. And basically that reaction of the Fed is based on what they learned after the global financial crisis. It took a decade, or even a little more than a decade, to get those people back into their jobs, just because they started retreating the QE programs at some point in the middle. So all those considerations are the ones that are in play. Just the inflation rhetoric based just on economic growth without looking to the unemployment, we don't believe is fundamentally valid. You need to take both into consideration. So and the big economic factors that influence this low inflationary environment, like demographic growth, like technology, increasing productivity, all those are still in place around the world. So in the long term, it will be a push and pull on inflationary pressures. I think that covers pretty much the economic, the macro report. I will jump to the report and if there's any questions.
Before you go far, so summarize for me, what's the takeaway from all that for GRS? I mean, particularly given the very limited exposure we have in the equity market. I mean, we had, I don't remember the percentage, but it's like 2%, 3% we have invested in.
Yes.
You know?
So
what's in a nutshell, what does that 5 minute, 10 minute detail you just gave us, what summarize the takeaway for us for GRS and investment posture?
Sure. The takeaway is the same takeaway that we've been discussing for some time now. That is, we are in capital preservation mode. We are in liquid assets around 440, 450. We have a net outflow of 140 million a year, 120, 140. So the math is telling us that we have 2.5 years or so of direct money here that will be used to pay contributions and expenses. So with that saying, we are still in that actually does not change the philosophy on how we are invested, because we are 100% focusing on capital preservation to be able to pay those contributions. As you will see on the next couple of pages, in cash flows, there was a need this week also for an extra $20-30 million that will be coming out of equities, which we decreasing a little more the exposure of equities as well. So I think the takeaway is to, as fiduciaries, trustees, you need to be aware of what's going on in the market. And also as fiduciaries, a trustee, we are taking care of capital preservation at this point. That is our #1 priority. If you put what I just told you, $140 million of outflows in terms of percentages, it is 4 times 40, 80, like 30% a year that should be coming exclusively from investment investment performance to be able to match up at this level of assets. So it's an almost an impossible task, definitely, to deliver the projections that we are seeing for the environment from now on into the next 20 years. Is an environment for every single asset class actually that the returns are actually lower expectation with higher risk, given the history of high performance that we had. So we were actually putting together some numbers for some of our clients, and even a portfolio of, listen to this, even a portfolio that is, which no one practically has, 90% equities and 10% fixed income. Expectation is that on the next 20 years, that will not be returning more than 6.7, 6.8%, and 90-10. So again, Mr. Bori, I think that capital preservation.
Put that in the context of the decision that we made to reduce the return rate to 4% versus the 7%.
That is in line with the expectations that return expectations, and is in line with the dynamic asset allocation that we put in place since 2016. So all is in line, as all within, fiduciary duties.
Okay.
So I will ask you to, let me show you some of the cash flow analysis, but the ones that make sense are the ones that are fiscal year. So I will ask you to jump into page 28, please. So since we started the fiscal year, that is October 1st, we already had around 32 million in withdrawals. And there is another withdrawal that is coming soon, that is around $20-30 million extra. So pretty much in line to what we forecasted. It's around 30 to 40 million per quarter. So not, I mean, in line with the expectations and with the forecasts there. I will ask you please to jump into page 32. 32 gives a picture of how we are invested. It is at the time of this report, that was January 31st, we were around 14% in equities. Remember that we are actually calling around 30 million out of that equity, so that will be reduced to around half, so we'll be around 10% at the end of the quarter, I'm guessing, in terms of equities, and the rest in fixed income and cash. A little in these two private equity managers that we have that are distributing money at this point. They're not calling it distributing online. And this is, again, Mr. Chair, this is in line with the projections. This is in line with the dynamic asset allocation. Page 34. This is performance. So even though the that we have only 14% invested in equities, if you see overall fiscal year to date, we are at 2.1%. So very good news. Not just what we have invested in equities, but fixed income, they have also make some returns. So we are for a good start. So you were asking, Mr. Chair, about projections of 4%. This is one quarter at 2. no one can guarantee if next one we will too, and the next one we will too. But we're off for a good start, even though we are 80% in equities, which is exactly what I was trying to mention with you before, right? It's capital preservation that we're trying to do within our fiduciary duties. So we are for a good start. Good news in the fiscal year so far. And remember, January was a month in which the equities came down because we have so low exposure to equity. It did not affect much the performance of the fund, which also it's good news. Let me see. Again, just to finalize my comments, if you jump into page 38, these are the total fees that the plan is paying to managers. Does not include custodian, does not include Makita for disclosure. So this is how you when you see comparisons between pension plans in the country, this is how it is compared. They do not include custodian or consultant or legal fees. They include management, purely management fees. And this is at 8 basis points. This at this level of assets, it's around 45 to 50. So we're probably one of the lowest fees in. So this is other measure that we've taken years ago when we saw this trend. I say, where is it that we can take some or make this plan more less expensive. And this was an area that we worked with the board as well years ago, and these are the fruits of that labor. So those are my remarks, Mr. Chair, unless there are any further questions. I think you're on mute, Mr. Chair.
Any questions from board members, staff?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, well, hearing none, I'd like to thank you, Gustavo. And
Oh, I have a question, Chair.
oh, okay. Go ahead.
I was looking at the I asked this question before of the gentleman in reference to the responsibilities. So looking at performance under Exhibit A is part of this document we received, at least I received, and it's performance and managers monitoring. When I read item 2, evaluate investment managers' performance in terms of effective implementation of investment strategies, performance versus established benchmarks, organizational stability, and apprehensive to such investment managers' contact with the system. My question is, that still wouldn't cover the investments that these individuals would be making, and those positions go against that has fraudulent activities that go against the plan, where we end up with a situation of litigation against these investments that we're making. So I was just trying to follow that.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what is
the responsibilities of what you do for the plan.
Yes.
I was just reading what your responsibilities are in that section.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is you are reporting to the trustees, right? And yes, the monitoring you're doing of transactions, right? That you report to us as trustees. Mm-hmm. So I was just trying to figure it out, because up to now I'm not able to figure out who's checking the checker as relates to the investments that are made on behalf of the plan. And then we come to find out that another third party was able to figure out that there was some fraudulent activity going on behalf of the plan. So you were saying last time we had that discussion, you didn't have any, your company didn't have anything to do with that, but just reading what your responsibilities are, unless I'm not dotting my I's and crossing my T's correctly. I was just trying to figure out there's still not a connection there.
I'm missing the connection on where exactly you're talking about fraudulent activities, Mr. Dorsey.
Gustavo, he's talking about cases that are securities litigation cases
Oh.
where the GRS has participated in.
Yeah.
And so I guess you can explain to him that usually the fraud is discovered after the fact, and how
Mhm.
your firm, works with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is part of the charter of the securities litigation firms that I believe, right, Kathy, that you work with as well?
Yes.
So, yes. So that is their charter, Mr. Dorsey. Our charter is in terms of the manager specific due diligence, manager reporting, and then securities litigation. You have another service provider that looks into that, which is the standard for the industry.
I guess my other question is, I'm not going to get into the name of the account, but we recently had a meeting on a litigation, and we had an investment of somewhere around $500,000, I guess, and our recovery was less than a quarter of what we put in. So going into those investments, we don't have language that indicates that if fraudulent activity is verified in the process, that we at least can collect the principal amount of what we invested. We don't have anything like that there.
Mr. Dorsey, that's not the way the system works. When you're investing through investment managers, they're doing and buying it on the stock market. So you don't have the ability to make those kind of demands when you make an investments through the stock market. And you wouldn't get those kind of agreements from the companies. And as for the fraud that we're talking about, the prior case, that is discovered after the fact. We had been invested in those stocks for, I think it was a year or so, when the fraud was discovered and brought out, when the company had to make a disclosure. But the investment managers who were investing in those companies would have no idea that there was this fraudulent activity going on until a report comes out in the market or something generates the discovery. So you can't tell that when you're investing in the stock. There's some cases where you may look at it and you can see that there's some fraudulent activity, but normally you can't discover that. This is an after the fact discovery.
Yeah, my point is this, Attorney Smith. I'm asking again because you didn't answer my question. When you realize that there's fraudulent activity that has been verified, and in this case, it was verified through the Security Exchange Commission. There are other cases we have where we have litigation, and some we're gonna win, some we're gonna lose. But my question is there something in the system now that at least we can get the principal amount of what we put in? Because if we went in with the understanding that we're going to do these investments, if it's fraudulent activity, we should at least cover the principal amount.
Mr. Dorsey, the Securities Exchange Commission Act, it doesn't allow for that type of recovery, as the attorney explained at the last meeting. It doesn't allow for the recovery of your losses or what you anticipated your losses are. So that's not a recovery that can be made under the act.
Well, I never got my copy on that particular item that the gentleman at the time in that case indicated he was going to forward to me, counsel, through you. So whenever you can get that, I'd like to be able to read that for myself and go from there.
I will follow up with him today and remind him to send those documents.
But speaking back to the gentleman, my point was, just in general, when you're investing with other companies, representing other clients, and there's a fraudulent activity, there's nothing your company would do in that case?
So
that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, so remember, we don't invest in companies. our process is the selection of investment managers. There is a process. I think that you're asking specifically something that I believe is outside my scope of knowledge. So I will be happy to ask our legal counsel some advice and come out with with a response, because I don't have the exact answer for you, Mr. Dorsey.
I would appreciate that because I'm not getting the answer I want. And I think if you're monitoring the investment managers, we just need to be more pointed with this.
I will actually stand by what I told you before. I will ask our internal legal counsel and get back to you, Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Gustavo?
No, but I'd like to make a comment. I think if Mr. Dorsey were to ask 50 persons, he may not get the answer he wants, and that may be a problem. And then we'll go to the number 51, the 51st person, still trying to get the answer that he wants, whether or not the 51 people have already given him the same answer. Nothing else.
The chair is actually correct. The former chair, Chairman Bory, he's actually correct. But you know, today that's how we got the iPhone. That's how we got the cloud that we just presented today, because individuals put the time in to get that to happen. That's how we have what we call discovery. And all I'm trying to do is try to get more documentation under my review of discovery as a trustee. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not going to sit here, like I said to you guys before, and just listen to reports. I have questions, I need document, and then I could formulate an answer. Okay. I just got this document a few days ago, which I was asking for from before, but I just got it a few days ago. So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Gustavo. I think we go to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Thank you, Gustavo.
So we're into regular business. The first item is ratification of the poll vote to extend the contract between Mercator Investment and GERS, and that's a vote that we took in a special meeting some time ago. Don't remember the date. Mr. Nibs, can you?
Yes, a poll vote. The results were garnered through a phone, and the results.
Yeah, on February 1st.
Yeah, but Ms. Cooley reported back on February 4th with all the votes. There were 5 yes and 1 no. The no vote was Andrew Dorsey. So what we're asking here to ratify that poll vote to extend the Nikita contract through February 1, 2022.
Okay, so I mean that's an action that the board technically has already taken, right? A decision already made. So at this point, I'll accept a motion to ratify the poll vote.
The chair make a motion to ratify the poll vote to extend the contract between Mercator Investment Group and GERS through February 1st, 2022.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Callender.
Yes.
Trustee Cohen.
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey.
No.
Trustee Liger. I think he left. So absent. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no, 2 absent.
Okay,
Ma-
motion.
Chair,
Yes.
I'll change my vote to not voting.
Okay. So recorded.
Thank you.
4 yes, 1 not voted, 2 absent.
Okay. So
I have a point of information, Chair.
go ahead.
When you have regular session and executive session, what determines, like for the disability annuities, retiree, return to work repayment policy under the regular session, versus the contract for Ms. Coley under new business and executive session? Shouldn't all those be in the same place? What's the difference of a contract? Should all contracts come under executive session, or do contracts come under new business?
It's in a personal matters, Mr. Chair, in regards to the contract for Ms. Foley.
Mr. Ronnie Williams, are you still there?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Trustee Dorsey, all matters are generally initially on the regular session pursuant to the Sunshine Act, unless they fall into one of the exceptions. And so the contract for Ms. Coley would fall under one of those exceptions. That's why it's an executive session.
So you said, I guess it was Trustee Smith indicated that if it's a personnel matter, is that the thinking as to what you're saying, counsel? You consider this a personnel matter?
Personnel matter.
Okay, so if this is a contract is not personnel, that's a contract. Personnel would be personnel coming through the system itself, assigned to the board to do work for the board. But if it's a contract, it is a contract. That's not personnel.
And this is a ratification of a vote, right? I mean, that was taken earlier. So is that, that's a good question. I mean, should that be an executive session?
No, because you're not discussing the terms of the contract. I mean, at least as it's placed on the agenda, it's simply a ratification of a vote that has already been taken place. If you're going to discuss the terms of the contract, then it would have been an executive session.
Okay, my thoughts on this is a contract. If it's a contract, it should be in regular session. It's not a personnel matter. It's a contract.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I think I'm agreeing with you. I mean, that's, especially since it's a ratification of a vote that's already taken. And that vote was taken it was in a regular session, wasn't it?
No.
No, that was done by a poll vote. So there was no discussion. I mean, you all sent out the information to the trustees and each person voted individually. And I assume at some point, whoever tabulated the vote, Ms. Coley, indicated that there was at least an affirmative vote one way or the other.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you, counsel, the poll vote was taken. Who did the tabulation, you said?
I think from the email I saw, and I'm subject to correction, I believe either Ms. Coley or Mr. Nibbs tabulated, whoever the trustees voted to.
Sir, I wasn't aware that there was a poll vote for Ms. Cooley's contract, so it wasn't me.
Oh, I
Yes.
thought we were talking about Makita's contract.
He's talking about Cooley's contract, I think.
Mr. Chair, I think they're mixing up everything.
Yeah, I think.
Everything is being mixed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think we didn't get there yet. That's why it's an issue, because we didn't get down to that. But let's talk about it. I mean, if the basic question is whether there's an item in executive session for Sinkhole contract, and I guess the question is whether that should be in executive session or not.
Attorney Williams stated it should be an executive session because it was a personnel, P-E-R-S-O-N-A-L, personnel matter, not personnel.
And his question is whether the ratification of a contract is a matter that falls within the exception that puts you into executive session.
But that ratification is not an executive session. That's the distinction I was trying to make. I thought I said if we're discussing the merits and the details of the Makita contract, then that most likely would have also been an executive session. All the trustees being asked to do based on the agenda is ratify a vote that had already been taken place. So there's no discussion of the specifics and the details of the contract.
I mean, so the fundamental question is, there's an item on the agenda under the executive sessions, the Sinkhole contract, and it's a ratification of a vote that has already been taken.
No. The Coley contract is not a ratification. The Coley contract is a new item that the board has to decide on today as to whether or not they want to extend her contract that I believe is scheduled to expire next month. So that is not a ratification.
That's true.
That's
But it's not the same thing.
On an action item, which is different from what we're dealing with Makita.
Okay.
Chair, that's not a personnel matter. That is a contract. That's not someone assigned from Mr. Nibb's office to work under the board in some capacity. That is a independent contractor. That should be under regular session.
Mr. Chair, I think you should go ahead with the agenda, and when that comes up, then we deal with that. But right now, I think we need to move forward with the agenda that we have present in front of us right now.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. When that matter comes up, we'll make a decision, we'll discuss it.
Well, Chair, my other point of information early on was the portion under regular session, the disability annuity item under unfinished business and retiree return to work repayment policy. Should that be under, or shouldn't that be under executive session? That would seem more of the area of concern. So I was just trying to get clarification on that as well.
But if the comment is addressed to me or Mr. Chair, you want me to respond, the problem with those two items, I mean, unless you know more than I do, is that I don't know what those items mean. I have no information as to what they are or whether they fall within any of the exception under the Sunshine Act, which is the reason why they are in regular session. So unless as counsel to the board, I have some detailed information as to the nature of what's going to be discussed, that I have no basis to determine whether it falls into one of the exceptions. And unless that happens, it by definition will stay in regular session.
Okay, so then I would just ask counsel for the system, Mrs. Attorney Smith, is your recommendation it should stay under new regular session, or should it be under executive session? That is to the council through Mr. Nibbs.
Okay, Trustee Dorsey, I had originally asked that it be put under executive session. I was overruled, and so it remains in the open session.
So you heard that, Mr. Chair. So obviously that needs to be under executive session as well. I'm not sure who overruled it. Who overruled you? Because this is the first I'm hearing you overrule. Who overruled you?
Attorney Williams.
But he just said he didn't know anything about it.
I did speak with him and explain to him that we
No,
may
I
be.
understand that. I
Yeah.
understand that, but he just said to us, he doesn't know anything about it. So something's not adding up there.
Well,
Chair,
again,
what are we gonna do, Chair? Are we putting it under the executive session or are we leaving it under regular?
hold on, Trustee Dorsey. First of all, I don't know what Attorney Smith means by she was overruled by me, because I don't know that I have the ability to overrule her on anything. I am counsel to the board. When an issue comes up, I look at the agenda, and if I have issues about whether an item should be an executive session or regular session, I try to find out. I did have a conversation with Attorney Smith. Based on that conversation, I indicated to her that she did not give me enough information for me to make a determination as to whether these items fall under the exception to being in the regular session under the Sunshine Act. In the absence of that, my position has always been that the items remain in regular session unless and until the board decides otherwise, or I receive information that in my mind justifies them going into executive session. I have not received anything to justify them going into executive session.
So Chair, in this situation, do you make the final ruling or is it a motion? What happens here? Or do we respect the position of Counsel Smith?
Well, I think we need to, the law is clear about what qualifies as executive session, as executive session material. So we let Attorney Smith explain to us how and why this fits under the prerequisites of the law to become an executive session item.
The reason I thought it should be under executive session, because there are individuals that fall into those two categories that we may be discussing their personal information as to how it applies to the discussion. And I didn't know if we wanted that information out in the public. I was told by Attorney Williams that we can discuss those individuals' names in public because it's all, and I forget exactly what he said. But my thing is that the decision of the board was made in private, in executive session. So if we're going to have any discussions that are going to bring up those individual names again, I thought it should be an executive session. But I would, as I said, I was overruled, and we are willing to go ahead and proceed in open session.
Again, we're mixing up the issues and the items. If I understand where we are, what we're saying, there were some matters that were filed as an appeal, as appeals to the board. The board made decisions. The decisions of the board was made in executive session under the provision that the premature disclosure of the item may have an effect. That is the only reason those decisions were made in executive session. Once those decisions have been made by the board, then technically all board decisions in appeal cases are public documents. So anybody could write or call to the system and say, I want to see a decision in whoever versus GRS, and that information can and should be provided to the individuals So they're not public documents as to the decision made by the board on January 5th, 2020. I am not aware that in these two items, there need to be any discussion of individuals' personal information. And if I'm assuming, and I'm correct, that we're talking about the Saro matter and maybe the Marissa Wilson matter, I would caution the system not to go into much detail, since to a certain extent, those matters or aspects of them are still pending. And the system should not be having any discussion with the board, because those could be construed as ex parte conversations when the appellant and the appellant's counsel are not privy or present during these discussions. So I was under the impression that if there's going to be any discussion, there are going to be policy discussions and not discussions having to do with the specific individual or the specific cases.
But we are going to refer, because the reason that the policies have been changed or because of the decisions made in those cases. And so we may have to refer back to those individual cases and the decisions in discussing why we've done what we've done or why the policy is the way it is. And
Which
so
is
we,
fine.
and it's going to be we have to be very careful that we don't disclose any personal information. And so we may inadvertently disclose some of those people's personal information. And so, it's better to do it under executive session so that we don't inadvertently disclose somebody's personal information during the discussion.
I'm not sure how you could inadvertently disclose people's personal information if you know that it's a personal information and it should not be disclosed.
Pedro, as I said, it has been done before where people inadvertently disclose something that shouldn't be disclosed. So I'm just to be cautious. You don't want people's personal information out there. And we may have to refer to something that was in those orders specific to those individual people or that occurred because of their situation.
But anything in the order is public information.
But some of the information that we may disclose is not necessarily carried in the order, but it affects something that was ordered in the order. And that we may have to discuss it to talk about compliance with the order.
Then I suggest you not discuss it.
I'm not going to go back. I don't want to go. I don't want to go back and forth.
You put the board in a difficult position because they don't know what you're going to discuss.
Pedro, as I said, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I don't like this kind of going back and forth. The board can make the decision. If they want to follow your opinion, that's fine. We'll do what we have to do. And if we inadvertently disclose something, so be it. We'll try not to, but
This back and forth needs to stop.
Any thoughts from any other board members? I mean, I guess the question becomes, as a board, we have a counsel, as counsel to the board that's advising us, and we have the let me ask a question. What is this item time critical or time sensitive?
Yes, they both are. Because we have orders that we have to comply with, and so we have to change processes.
But Mr. Chair, if I might, the way to deal with these items is you discuss them in general session, and if and when you get to a point in the discussion that somebody feels that something needs to be said that should not be there, then at that point you could move to go into executive session or leave it for executive session since that's already on the agenda.
My understanding of that process is that is that the move to executive session is the exception as opposed to the rule.
That's correct.
And that the presumption is that it's public information unless proven otherwise. So is this, and what I'm thinking about is whether there should be an opportunity for further discussion between our council and management council to see if we could figure out. I'm uncomfortable going contrary to a board's or council advice. You know, I mean, that's why we have a board council. On the other hand, I respect the staff council and her thoughts. I mean, so our council is saying he doesn't know enough about what's going to be discussed to come to a conclusion that it should be an executive session. Would some further conversation between you guys resolve that? Is that a way to resolve that?
Mr.
Chair,
Bowery, we're prepared to go
excuse
forward.
me, Attorney Smith, hold on a minute, please. Chair, I can make a suggestion that we just put it in executive session. And if it meets, whatever it meets during that time, when we come out, we can report to the public what came out of that. But at least we'll be in a safe place going in. But if we don't start there, we can't end there. But if we can start there, then we can end someplace with a soft landing because we're already there. So that's the only point I'm making. Because if that's the case, then the contract should not be an executive session. It's a contract. Unless the policy is all contracts from any vendor is supposed to be an executive session. If that's the policy, then that's what it is. And that's what I was asking initially. When it comes to contracts, not employees, and contracts, are they supposed to be dealt with in executive session?
Okay. So let's deal one at a time. So the items under B, there are two items under B: disability annuities and return to work. And they're both. Your question, Trustee Dorsey, was with respect to both of them?
The two of those items should probably be in executive session. Now, that's those two. And then the contract, I was asking for any contract, not just this one, any contract. Is it the policy that is supposed to be done in executive session? It's a contract.
Let's try to follow the agenda and deal with these two items, and we get to the contract when we get there. All right, so I guess at this point, then I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Well,
Okay, I'll make.
hold on. You're going to executive session. We changing you're changing the agenda?
Well, the discussion I'm hearing is that the agenda calls for two items that's left under B.
Now, you know, there are a bunch of items on the A. We didn't about those bank things that, are you skipping those?
And
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. I got distracted on those.
Yeah, but also I'm saying we need to finish the agenda.
Yeah. I got you. All right, so, okay. So let's keep on going with the agenda and we'll get to B when we get to B. Okay, so we'll finish the first one under A, which is ratification of the vacated contract. The next one is approval to designate the chairman as a signatory to all bank accounts and chairman as a signatory or holder to corporate card.
Can I take one at a time, sir?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's take the first one.
What happens, Chairman Barry, what happens when there's a change in the officers of the GERS? The officers are considered the chair. I know that there's not a vice chair at this time. Maybe we need to address that today sometime because we'll have to go back and change the corporate documents again. Also the treasurer, which is the CFO, and the secretary administrator are signatories to the bank accounts.
And those on the bank resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just asking that you be designated as the chair and the new chair on the bank accounts. And I'm assuming too that this would include Carambola account because Carambola has not been completed as yet. We have not wind up all the business of Carambola. So as the chair of the GRS board, I'm making the assumption because of past practice, that also the chair of the Carambola board, because there's still a Carambola board. So I'm asking that you be designated as a signatory, as a chairman, and all GRS's bank account, which include Carambola, Havenside, everybody.
Who are the other signatories?
The vice chair, which we don't have a vice chair. We need to designate a vice chair, the CFO, and also myself, the administrator. So it's like the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, the treasurer.
Okay.
I think on some accounts, Ms. Jeremiah, you may confirm with me, I think we had Ms. Potter on there as the CEO also. Am I correct? Anyway, we just need the officers. I think Ms. Potter was added because you need at least 2 signatories at one time. The chairman and the vice chair really don't sign the checks. Usually the checks are signed by the CFO and myself. The bank look for those 2 signatories.
So move.
Second.
Motion?
Any discussion on that?
Excuse me?
Any discussion on that motion? If not, roll call.
Trustee Callender,
Yes.
Trustee Cohen,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Not voting.
Trustee Liger, absent. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
4 yes, 1 not voting, 2 absent. The next approval I'm seeking is to approval to designate Nelon Barry as chairman of the GRS as a signatory and holder of a GRS corporate credit card. Now that's in conjunction with a corporate credit card policy, which was developed when I came in 2008. I sent a copy to the board members and staff. Usually that credit card is in the amount, it's at Banco Popular, it's a Visa card, it's in the amount of maximum of $25,000. It's used primarily when we traveled a whole lot. Also, it can be used for any type of operational expenses that have to be documented. So that is for board use. The chairman used that for board use, board expenses. As you can see in the other, what I'm approving also is for Mr. Jeremiah. I currently hold a card. I use that card for travel expenses. If we don't have travel expenses as we used to, I also use it for operational purposes. We find that a lot of the vendors now don't want any checks. They rather have a credit card. So in order to do business, we have some recurring charges that happen every month, especially in the IT area. So I presently hold that card. And Ms. Jeremiah doesn't have a card. I know that Ms. Dobbins did when she was CFO, and she had returned it. But I'm saying that Ms. Jeremiah should have a card now because obviously my time is getting short, and there are recurring items on my credit card that may have to be transferred to her card so that there wouldn't be any problems. I'm not sure what the board intent is at this time as far as transition, but I do presently have a card. When I leave, that card is cut up. It's closed out at the bank, and there should be someone else within the agency, and I would prefer to have the CFO have a card so that she can monitor. She'll be the one responsible to approving any type of expenses on that card and monitoring the use of the card. So I'm asking first to designate the chairman, which is customary. The chairman has a card at Banco Popular, Visa card, in the amount based on policy of $25,000 limit.
So move.
Let me have this question there. I mean, so this has been the practice?
Yes, sir, and it's in the policy. I sent you a copy. It's a part of the corporate credit card policy, which was approved August 25, 2008. And since that time, all Chairman Liger had one, Chairman James, also Chairman Calendar had one since he's been here. So when the person leaves, term is up, the card is turned in, and the new chairman would have to have a card. In the event there needs to be charges for board expenses.
Okay.
Second.
So I had a question, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
The latter part of what Mr. Nibbs was saying, that his time winding down, and that I guess there are reoccurring charges on the card that he has at this point. We haven't still talked about the winding down time. Sorry, with Mr. Nibbs moving on.
That's
the question was, should we entertain looking at Mr. Nibbs going on some kind of contract so that we can have continuity for the system at this point?
I agree.
When his contract is done, can we at least look at continuity?
Yeah, I think
I support that.
I think I told you, I told somebody recently that that is something under consideration. I think I said that I'd asked Dr. Calendar and the other Clendenin to get together with me to discuss a path forward, given Mr. Nibbs's announced retirement. And I think I told you that we'll be coming to some determination fairly soon. And wasn't it you I had this conversation with recently?
With myself?
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was gonna see some kind of draft document that was coming to the board from Mr. Nibbs as to what he could live with.
Well, I
As-
mean, we have to have that talk with him before he sends a draft document.
Have been discussed.
I thought we discussed that when we were under the former chair. We were talking about succession, movements for the system. I thought around that time, that's what we were discussing, that there would be something on the table coming from Mr. Nibs. He already sent, I read the document. It was copied to everybody that was there at the time. I guess based on what Mr. Nibs and Mr. Thomas indicated earlier, the system had some hiccups in terms of the software. But now that we have the new software in place, we have a backup cloud. I guess we won't have those problems going forward because it'll always be in the cloud. But I was just saying that, are you looking at something like by the end of this coming month, Chair?
Yes, so I mean, we have to make that decision fairly soon because if Mr. Nibs is going to be part of the conversation, we have to let him know. So he can
Could we
make
discuss this in executive session, Mr. Chair?
I mean, that's
Not in my turn. What, Mr. Chairman, all I'm trying to do is make sure that Ms. Jeremiah has a card as a CFO.
I understand.
I think that is the objective right now, just to make sure that she has a card so that, things can transition in smoothly. And when the new administrator come in, whoever that person is, that person will get a card also. But Ms. Jeremiah, I think as a CFO should be the one I really don't need a card anymore because we don't travel like that.
Okay. I mean, I understand, but I mean, this has morphed into more than just a card. This is morphed into a discussion about the way forward.
Right. But so right now, I'm just asking for a motion to have the chairman have a card based on the corporate card policy of the GRS, and also the CFO to be designated, and we also issue a card in the same amount based on the corporate credit card policy.
I haven't gotten that policy.
So I sent it to both emails, Yahoo and Gmail, plus your GRS email.
Excuse me. Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
you have a problem with having a credit card?
Me personally?
Having a credit card through GERS?
Not fundamentally. I know, not fundamentally.
Okay, now it's like, seems as though you have some hesitation. I had the card for 10 years, never used it, didn't know where it was, I turned it back in actually, and there was really no need for me to use the card.
So I don't picture a time when I've been using it either. But I mean, the fact is, I could see of. I mean, I believe the occasions will be relatively rare in my case.
Right.
Yeah. Let me give you some assurance, Trustee Barry. It was used for board travel, mostly for the. I mean, these are things that are approved. It goes through the process, so it's not that everything is monitored properly. So,
I understand.
I don't even look at the card, but it's done by my executive assistant. She monitors all of that stuff and gets all the receipts and everything. And
I understand, Mr. Nibs. I mean, I understand. I already said, you already voted on mine, right?
Yeah.
So we don't need to go back there.
Well, we like to vote. We like to vote on that right now. I think it was moved by Trustee Callender and seconded by Trustee Smith.
So we voted on the one for the. Did you vote?
We did it for the bank. We didn't do it for the credit card for you.
Okay, I'm losing it here.
I mean,
Yeah, because you know what, you're taking too long on one item. So you keep forgetting.
All right.
Mr. Nibs, I just got it, Mr. Nibs.
Okay.
Mr. Nibs, I just got the credit card policy. Thank you.
So I just need to call the roll on this because it was moved and seconded.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
go ahead.
Trustee Callender,
Yes.
Trustee Cohen,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger, absent. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent. Now, another request was approval, the same thing, but for the CFO, Ms. Denise Jeremiah.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded, roll call.
Trustee Callender,
Yes.
Trustee Cohen. Trustee Cohen,
Yeah, mute.
He's a
Yes.
mute.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger, absent. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so now we get to item B,
Yeah.
and I guess here's where I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session.
You want a motion to go into executive session for these unfinished business, the disability annuities?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
Okay.
that's
Well,
what
so
we're
move.
saying.
I make a motion to rearrange the agenda to put the unfinished business under executive session.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Callender,
Yes.
Trustee Cohen,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger, absent. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent.
Okay, so that motion was to reorder the agenda. We now need a motion to actually go into session.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll hear that motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
And I'll second it. Move into executive session.
Trustee Callender,
Yes.
Trustee Cohen,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger, absent. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent.